All right, welcome again this week to the UNI press conference. First up today is UNI football. The Panthers will take on Cal Poly in the home season opener on Saturday, 4 o'clock in the Unidome. New AstroTurf will be in play. And next up, head coach Mark Farley.
All right, go ahead, guys. I'll just answer and we'll roll.
What particular area from week 1 to week 2 do you feel needs some? You want to improve everywhere, but is there a specific area coming out of that game, seeing everything on film, that you want to see the most improvement this week?
Well, I think it's evident that we needed to the errors that were made, the intercepts in the throwing game, and there was a few technical errors, but I think penalties and those errors are the things that have to be eliminated. If you eliminate those two things alone from that past football game, you're in a different environment, a different setting, if you will, because the penalties hurt us on moving the chains sometimes when we got in the red zone, and then of course the 2 intercepts is what people will remember.
There was something that it's probably no surprise to you, but I only saw you run it once, and I call it the old student body right, student body left. You pulled your center, your left guard, and your left tackle. I was really impressed by the speed of those guys. I mean, they got that lead step out, they kicked out, and they went. Maybe talk a little bit about the speed and agility of your O-line. That was impressive, Coach.
Well, it's good to hear. They ran that play. We did a couple times, but they ran that play well that day. And what I would say is this, I really think Mike Simmons has done a great job with our offensive line in the training of them and the conditioning of them, because they may have ran more than any other position during two-a-day camp. And I think that goes along with the coach as much as it goes along with the attitude that you're trying to create within that group. And that was impressive to see. We need to continue to do that, but we've worked hard at that. And through Mike's leadership and through the offensive line, you can see that they've bought into that type of movement. So we've when I say trained, we've probably lifted differently. We've trimmed them down a little bit, and we've ran quite a bit in our offensive line play. So that was evident, and I know exactly the plays you're talking about, because I did notice the difference in turning the edge. But that takes a lot of people buying in as much as the attitude of how they're coming out of their stances.
You talked about trimming some of those guys down, but one guy, I think he gained about 60 pounds in Spencer Brown. Talk about his body. I think last year you didn't know if he was going to be a defensive end or a tight end,
right.
But now he's a right tackle.
Yeah, Spencer that was his first game, and we actually kind of joked about it walking down the ramp to the football game. He goes, "Man, this is a lot different than the last game I was in, which was an 8-man football game." So that was the first snap he had taken since that day. So he came in here and he really bought into being an offensive lineman. He put great weight on, not just weight. He put great weight on, and he played very well that day for a first day at playing right tackle against Iowa State in that setting against good players. I mean, he really did very well. So there's a young player that's got a lot of upside and a lot of growth that he can make game to game, let alone year to year.
How pleased were you with your defensive effort, Mark? You're facing a team that's averaging over 200 yards rushing, but you only allowed 119 against Iowa State. How pleased were you with your rush defense?
I was actually disappointed with the rush defense, even though I wanted to keep them under 100. And I thought we could have, but I'll give credit. The running back was very, very good. I thought the running back was what made the difference in their football team, because he ran very hard, and he got that extra yard, and those extra yards just put us in some tougher defensive calls. I thought he was the difference in the end. But I would say that our front seven, they were put in a position that they had to protect our secondary, because I was playing over the top of Iowa State so much, and it paid off. I mean, Lazard got 100 yards. We're trying to keep him under 100. He got his 107 yards, but it took 8 throws. They didn't get behind us this year. They got behind us 3 times, I think, the previous year. So, yard for yard, there wasn't much differences. It was the turnovers that swung it, and it was some of the run game that you mentioned. I felt moved the chains where we needed to get off the field, and then late in the game, they got the third down we didn't get a pass rush. And since we didn't get the pass rush, we didn't get the sack or get the guy moving around, and that's why they did so well on third down. If we could have gotten a pressure just to make him move, get him out of the pocket, get him moving a little bit, we could have had some more things happen for us defensively in turnovers, but he was allowed to stay in the pocket. So we have to improve our pass rush and continue to work on a run game. But, for that day, it was good, but that's not, good wasn't good enough that day, and that's all that mattered.
With that said, you're trying to grow each side of the ball, but when you're trying to grow the defense, you got to think about you're facing a completely different team than you're going to face all this year. You got to prepare for a totally different offense that you're only going to see once this year. Talk about the challenge of that.
Well, that's the challenge with Cal Poly because, this is one of those offenses that it looks like Georgia Tech, it looks like Navy, it looks like the Army, and that's why people don't play these teams. It's like it takes a whole different dynamic now. Everything we've practiced and worked on for months really doesn't matter because this is a whole different dynamic, and it changes everything. It changes what you're going to do on offense and as much as what you're going to do on defense because, it's the number of plays that you get because this style of offense is a 4-down offense. It's going to be 12-play drives. It's going to be 3rd and 1, 4th and 2. It's going to be those kind of play calls all day long just because of the style of this offense is run, get 3, get 4, get 3, get 4, looking for it to pop one. And so you're always in a short yard situation, so you're always in a goal line type attitude. So everything changes this week, and that's what we have to really work hard at this week is I don't want to say change the mindset of the players, but you sure have to alter it to fit this style of team that we're going to play. It's nothing like we played last week.
With what Cal Poly does and how it might change what you'll do on offense, do you look at how you're going to be able to improve the running game? It was good on Saturday night, but does it have to be better this Saturday?
No, running game has to be a lot better. I mean, I actually felt leaving the football game, going into the game, I probably felt like, hey, I felt good about our run game, and I was wondering what was going to transpire in the passing game because of the age of the receivers and the offense and that type of stuff. I actually felt that we would be strong in the run game. It kind of flipped on me during the game. We became very good in the passing game after that first quarter, and then we became average in the run game. So flip side of that, that's the good news of the whole thing because I feel that's where we can really improve a ton. We just didn't do it that day as well as we could. And I think that if we make some improvement on the run game and continue growth on the passing game, then we can be as good as offenses week to week and is how we perform.
Trevor Allen solidify himself as your number one back going into this week, Coach?
He's the number one running back. He's the first one who'll take the field for us. The number of carries he gets and splitting time with Javion. I thought Javion ran as well as Trevor did. I mean, we popped our longest runs from scrimmage were a 23-yard and a 20-yarder, one by Javion and one by Trevor. I believe their longest run from scrimmage was 17 yards. So we had 2 longer runs from scrimmages than they did. And we had 2 longer passes than they did in a passing game. So when you looked at numbers, there's a lot of equivalencies, but, it's when you ask about who to stay with, I think you need to stay with a fresh back. And again, it goes back to the old line, making some plays and some runs. So it's all tied together. The play that you asked about with the great speed and the guys turning the edge versus a downhill run and trying to run power or just trying to move the line of scrimmage. And again, that was a good defensive line. So I always measure what we did against who we did it against. And that was a good test for us and something we can really grow from because we were playing good people.
When you watch that game, to my mind, it wasn't an FCS Valley team against a Big 12 team. It was 2 teams. It looked like a Big 12 game to me. Okay, FCS has now gotten to a point where, like the Bison go into Kinnick a year ago, they win. You play Iowa State. I know you can't take away those 2 pick sixes, but yet you take those off, it's a 28-24 ball game. How or why has FCS gotten to the point now where they can stand toe-to-toe with some of these power conference teams? How's that happen?
I'd probably say I think that football has become such a focal sport right now in high schools, and the amount of time that's put into football from in the high schools and heck, we're watching high school football games on ESPN for crying out loud. And when you have that kind of media attention, and the way it's gone, football has become such a dominant sport that now they're growing up and putting the kind of effort into just one sport. So there's probably more players to pick from, and the development of the time of doing it, there's much more emphasis into that. But you look at that, and then you look at this league, and when you look at the competitiveness within our league has generated the teams that you're talking about that are playing at the BCS level. And it's this league has done it because this is a tremendous league. I can't believe this league isn't matched with probably 3 BCS leagues right now. If you walked into it, top half to top half, there's some good football teams that are floating around, and it's because of the competitiveness within our league, but yet it's also, I think, because of the evolution of football being the sport that it is in the social world. And significantly, I mean, I was shocked to watch a Friday night afternoon game of ESPN and then a Saturday game of ESPN high school football. So that's just where it's gone, because I remember the day when we played Indiana State on ESPN for the very first time, when ESPN was non-existent. They were just building their base, and that's how they started with high school football now. So football is where little kids are growing up wanting to be football players, and they're growing up training that way at a very young age because of what they're seeing on TV.
First of 2 Big Sky opponents, in the grand scheme, the big scheme, how important are these games against the Big Sky opponents?
I don't know if it's Big Sky or if it's I just know this. I don't know that it matters what league they come from. I just think that if it's a strong football team that you're playing, it makes a difference in how you're viewed long term. I think last week I get that game. That's a good game because you can find stuff out about your football team and get better because you played a good football team. Now you're in the stage of playing games that you're starting to work towards your conference play and build your football team. So this is a 1AA game that I don't think it matters. It's a strong team because it was a playoff football team last year. So now you got a playoff football team once again. And that's what matters, I think, is how good is the teams that you're playing that are 1AA. Because 1AA they're really great teams, and then there's some really poor teams in 1AA right now. It's just funding. So based off this, we're playing a very quality team because they were a playoff team last year. So that's what I look at.
Is this a big challenge for your nose tackles, your defensive tackles? Joe Prothro's going to come at them 35 times. Did you challenge them early in the week, or do you have anybody in your locker room that you're using on the scout team to simulate that? Or?
No, it's another week of practice for us. I mean, I don't get whether it's Iowa State or Cal Poly or Drake, it wouldn't matter to me who we're playing. They're going to get the same kind of test because this is a week to grow your football team. And then where it comes out on Saturday will be based off how well we have them prepared. But no, there'll be guys that need to show up, but I'm pleased with our young freshmen. We got a good quarterback that can run this style of offense for us right now. He gives us good quickness, and then we're going to have to find a nose tackle to put down on defense because they got a tremendous nose that really cuts the offense in half. I mean, he's a powerful guy, so it'll be a blood and guts game. I mean, there'll be a lot of hitting right down there at the line of scrimmage. I don't care if you're on offense or defense right now. It's how they play.
Anything new on the injury front coming off that game from last week to this week?
We had bruises and slings and boots and things like that on yesterday on guys, but as I saw the report, I don't know that there's anybody that we won't see this week that we played last week. I think there's still some guys that are yet to come out of that, but the projection is that they'll all play this week right now.
With defensive game plan for Cal Poly, knowing that they're 85 to 90% keep it on the ground and run it out of that triple option, I don't know if easier is the right word, but does that, for the defensive preparation, you know what they're going to do. They're going to 90% of the time run the ball.
Yeah, I'd relate it to this. Everybody knows what Navy's going to do. They still do it. Everybody knows what Georgia Southern's going to do. They still do it. And it doesn't matter. It's the same place. You can pull up the Navy game. You can pull up the Cal Poly game. It's the same place. And it's how they run them. And there's enough adaptability in that offense that it will adjust to anything that you line up against it. You're limited what you can line up against it. And it comes down to personnel and discipline within the personnel. So that's where this is so prevalent this week, is the discipline within your assignment, but it's the upside of the whole thing is it's great to have that kind of discipline that you got to teach in this offense, because it will kick you if you're not where you belong. And it ain't about the passing game, because there's more options in this offense than there is in anybody's passing game that you could develop. It's all right here in front of us, and it happens within 3 yards of a line of scrimmage. So it's a test of discipline as much as it's a test of toughness and durability. I mean, you're going to have all three of those phases in this football game.
Any concern with the defense getting worn down? It seemed like after the Cyclones were able to score those first 2 touchdowns in the second half, they're maybe more on their heels than on their toes, the defense was, and with Cal Poly's rushing attack, how do you feel about the defense's endurance going into this?
Yeah, that's a part of it. I mean, I did see we gave too much after those first 2 touchdowns, but those things, I think we'll find out. Let's find out and see what happens this week. But had a little bit to do with what we're defending, because Iowa State's defense, you had to defend those receivers. What you'll find out is the two were excellent, and 19 really did some things good for them to spread the field, and they were the height of them put you in danger of doing some things, and they were strong enough, and what hurt us was the bubble, so they were strong enough to knock you off the football too. So that will help them. And now they got a running back that's powerful enough up inside, so they really flattened you out quite a bit. And that's where your D-line really has to take over and do a good job of pushing that line of scrimmage. So, and the same thing's going to happen this week. This is going to be a collision this weekend. That's all it is. It's collision after collision.
Does that make you want to put a little bit more size on the D-line? I know at one point on Saturday, Ricky had moved to putting his hand on the ground at end, and then Alfonso came in and replaced him. Does it tempt you to put more size on the D-line?
Ricky's as big as some of those other DNs, so it doesn't matter. I mean, our D linemen are our D linemen. So you're always looking at size, but when you put size, and what are you doing? You pass rushing or you drive blocking is the only difference in that. So, I think this game will play out totally different. You can't even. This is just a different animal that you're playing this time than what we played last time. So it really puts a lot of time into getting somebody ready that you won't use again. I mean, it's for this week only, but you got to perform this week, and that's all that matters, and then we'll deal next week when we get there.
How much does it help you, Coach, that just a couple of years ago, you played this Cal Poly team out there, played well, and Pro Throw was their big gun back then, too?
Yeah, they were, I tell you what, they were really good. They were a playoff team that year, too, coming off that. And we played at their opening game, and I know that was a big deal to them. And we played well that day. I mean, we were really disciplined that day. And offense got out ahead, some of the things that you like to do in games like that. And then if I remember it, we had to hold on to win, because, that's one of these teams that, even when they played Colgate got up, and then they came right back on and had a chance to win the game the last drive. So they're one of those teams that they're never down. Doesn't matter. It's a wear and tear game. And a lot of these teams will win games in the fourth quarter because of the wear and tear they put on D linemen in the first 3 quarters of the football game. So that's where duration, durability, all those things are going to come into play.
One last thing, I'm going back to last week's game. When you rewatched the game film Sunday, Monday, was there anything you saw that maybe you didn't notice at game speed, good or bad, coming out of that Iowa State game?
Well, when I watch the film, and when you get beat, you want to have a reason you got beat. And with the exception of those two intercepts, I mean, I watched that film, and I can't say we played bad. And I have a hard time telling them they didn't play bad if we get beat. But I did not see that we played bad. We could have done a lot of things better, but I thought we did a lot of things good. And there's a lot of players that showed up, and as I watched them through the fourth quarter, were playing to the level they needed to play in the fourth quarter. And so, yeah, I saw more upside than I saw down. And that's why, even for myself, that's very hard for me to say, because I don't like to say we played good when we lose. We played good enough to lose. We didn't play good enough to win, put it that way. Anybody else? Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, UNI volleyball and head coach Bobby Peterson. Panthers will open their home season tonight against Northern Illinois at 7 o'clock, and then we'll head to Kansas City this weekend to take on Rutgers, South Dakota, and UMKC. Next up, head coach Bobby Peterson.
I just have a couple quick comments and then I'll open up for questions. But I'm just really proud of our kids this weekend and just really taking full advantage of the opportunity to play not just three of the best teams in the country, but also three teams that were very different. I thought we learned a lot about our team, things we're doing well, things we need to be more consistent with, and definitely things we want to get better at. I think the challenge for us coming up here in the next couple weeks is the next 2 weeks we have 4 matches in 5 days. And for us as coaches, it makes it a little bit difficult to have all these things we know we want to work on, but being able to keep our kids fresh for the matches, but still be able to work on some of those things. So challenges for the coaches for sure. I can tell you our kids are way excited to be at home today against Northern Illinois. It's the one match in the first 16 that we get to be at home. So looking forward to the opportunity to play in front of our awesome home crowd. Questions?
What is it you'd like to see the team get more consistent at?
I think a couple things. First of all, we kind of had the same thing a little bit last year with playing some really good defense, but then being able to get something out of that defense. And I thought we did actually a little bit better with that last weekend than we did this weekend. And some of that's the pressure that the teams were playing put on us. But we got a lot of good touches, but the communication after that first touch, whether it's that second touch or somebody communicating, hey, I'm open, set it here, different things like that to be able to get a more powerful attack coming out of that. It's called transition offense. We need to be a little bit better at that. And then we had a couple of rotations this weekend that really, what I would say, hurt us. Teams went on runs. We knew going in to this season that those potential rotations could be trouble for us. But I think that the first weekend we did really well with that, but we were kind of exposed as people scout us a little bit more. So some of those serve receive rotations, having some different options, being able to flip things around. Maybe it's not normally our best thing that we do, but just giving that other team a different look will help us to get through some of those rotations. So our serve receive offense is another area where we want to be more not predictable, I guess is the best way to put that.
Coach, you were concerned about USC's tempo of play, but yet, I look at the final score 3-1. How were you able to, was it through practice? How were you able to compensate for that speed of play and, quite frankly, beat them rather handily? Yeah,
the biggest thing that I will say about that match is we dug a lot of balls. With an offense like that, we are putting one-on-ones everywhere basically, and if you're not going to dig, you're not going to be able to be successful. We did take a few risks at times where we would commit block and leave somebody wide open, and I think we executed that very well when we took those risks, but I put it to the grit of our defense and being able to dig a lot of balls. And I think what happened is there were a few times where we got them a little bit frustrated because we were keeping the ball alive, which forced them into making some errors that I think they don't normally do. So, but it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of compliments from the crowd, people from Creighton, just on how scrappy we were that match, and I give a lot of credit to our defense. And then on the other side of that, just our serve receive offense, being able to handle their block and being able to find some holes as well. But I think when you can't practice that, and we talked about it, we did practice digging without a block. We had people hammering balls at us. We practiced that several times during the week because we knew in order to beat them, we were going to have to dig either one-on-one or sometimes without a block.
You look at the first couple weeks that Taylor Hedges has been in the back row coming off that redshirt year. What have you seen out of her? There's some things that she's doing that maybe surprise you for this early in the year.
I really like Taylor just gets a lot of touches on balls, and she has a lot of things that she's working through technique-wise and skill-wise to better those touches. But what I like about her is she keeps the ball alive. She learns really quickly as far as strategy because we put different game plans up for our front row, which then allows our back row to do different things. But you have to have the back row people that can figure that out, and she's done a really good job. Obviously, you practice those things in practice, but it's very different at match time, so she's picked up on that very well. She's got on a couple of serving runs for us. We always look for our DS liberos to be tough servers as well. But I think she brings that gritty defense that we talk about. We had to replace a few people that really gave that to us over the last couple of years, and I think Taylor is definitely one of those kids that has provided that for us this year.
You've seen a lot of opponents the first couple weeks that have thrown some different things at you. Is that going to continue with some of the opponents you'll see this week?
Definitely, and we haven't scouted a lot on the weekend that we have ahead because we have a big match tonight against Northern Illinois, but we have watched a little bit of game film. But again, 3 very different teams on the weekend. Northern Illinois is the team, I'm worried about them a lot because they're 0-7, but they're a very young team. They have 4 freshmen and 2 sophomores playing, which is crazy. But if you watch them, they're playing Oregon. They're playing, I can't remember who the other team was that I just watched, but they have moments of just really, really good volleyball, and then they have moments where they look like freshmen out there. So I know Ray, he's a great coach, and I know he just stays with them, and I think they have a lot of potential to do really good things this year. So we're going to see a volleyball team that I think is going to play some really good volleyball at times, and then at other times we're going to be out prepared for things that are coming over that we might not expect. So just in one match, I think we can see some different volleyball.
You're just 6 matches into this season, but you've played 4 top 20 ranked teams, 4-2. What should that tell us about the talent or the quality or what you've learned about this team?
Well, I think, our team definitely feels like they can play with anyone in the country. And I think that's part of the reason, you go into these matches, you definitely step on the court to win, but you don't always know what your team is thinking. But I think our ability, we have, even against Kentucky and Creighton, there are things that we know we were in control of that we could have done better, and maybe it's a different result. So it's not even just that, yes, we beat a couple teams, but I think we had chances to beat the other ones that we were right in those matches. Creighton, I really think we ran out of gas. I even think Creighton ran out of gas. It was probably not the best match of the weekend, and it had potential to be a really good match. But I just think being in a position to see the things that we can do against some of the best teams in the country. Now, I think there's a lot of really good teams in the country that are not ranked in the top 25. And so our development definitely has to be every match, every practice. We have to get better at a lot of things to be able to be where we want to be at the end for sure.
How did playing in that environment this weekend, not only against the top-rated teams, but a raucous crowd, good crowd, how does that help moving forward?
We had a lot of interesting things that I think will help us moving forward. The crowd was one thing for sure, but I think our kids really handled that. We talk a lot about feeding off the energy of a crowd. You have to kind of pretend like it's for you even when it's against you. Creighton has great people. Their students definitely get in it, and they try to razz you a little bit, but we even had some through the net type things happening, which I thought was really good for our kids to be able to keep it calm and not respond in a way that was negative. And I thought that was really good for our kids just for the future too. Some of our young kids were getting razzed through the net, which I love that because I think it's a great opportunity to build momentum on our side. So, but our kids handled it really well. I think of Kim Kester, me smiling back there. She's definitely a kid that we had to, you hold her back, but you're like, okay, go ahead. But our kids handled that really well. And I think that can be something that we use in the future as well.
Are you saying there was some trash talking?
A little bit, yeah, that's a great way to put it. A little bit of trash talking for sure. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Next up, UNI cross country and head coach Dave Paulson. Panthers got their season underway at the Hawkeye Invitational this past Friday in Iowa City. Both the men and women were running for the first time competitively. Next up, head coach Dave Paulson.
So yeah, we're down in Iowa City this weekend. Season opening meet. All we really want to see is just kind of the fitness test of everyone, see where they're at. We held probably 3 of our top 5 girls out of the meet this weekend. A few of them had some long summers going into the USA Championships that just ended at the end of June, and so they're just not quite ready yet. And so this gave us a good opportunity to get some of these young freshmen and sophomores that we have an opportunity to get on the course and kind of be more of in a critical role for the team. And so it was nice to see them compete. Tiffany Christensen had a really good meet for us. She was our number 1 runner on the women's side. She was a transfer in from Wichita State about 2 years ago and sat a year out with a foot injury, had surgery. And so this is really her first chance to get back into the full swing of things. And she did a terrific job for us. Ashley Norm had a really good meet for us as well. She had a stress fracture in the outdoor season last year, and so she was out. And just this was her first time back running competitively in over 5 months. And so having those opportunities is very valuable as we push forward into end of October is where some of those more critical meets come along. We want to see the team at full swing. On the men's side, CJ May had a great season opener for us, as did Ben Ulrichs, and so I was really happy on the men's side with how our number 2 through 5 runners really worked well together and finished all within about 5 seconds of each other. And so really good place to build on as we move forward. So we should be full swing, full strength here when we go to Wisconsin next week. I think we have everyone scheduled back to be full strength. So we're looking forward to that opportunity. Any questions?
Who are you going to see at Wisconsin?
You know, it's going to be a small meet. Wisconsin will be there, and I think DePaul as well. And so just about 3 teams, which is not a lot of teams, but I really like that format because it makes us rely on each other to run with. You get disconnected pretty quickly in a field that small. And so for us, that'll really give us an opportunity to work running together as a team, which we're looking forward to.
Any surprises, good or bad, in this first outing Friday night for you?
No, it's kind of, when there's no surprises, that's a good thing early on for us. And so it's just, Tiffany was a good surprise. We just didn't know where she was going to be at. And so if anything, that was a big positive because we're still looking, we need to have a lot of competition for those top 5 spots. And so with her doing so well right off the gate, that's gonna make us a much better team here coming end of October.
I remember Coach Peterson talking in one of her press conferences about how she kind of had to remind the freshmen that, okay, last year you were playing Dunkerton. This week you're playing USC. But for your freshmen, okay, last year you were running against whoever in 1A, 2A. This year, oh my word, you're running against the Hawkeyes and some other big teams. Do you do anything special to prepare them for that mentally, or do you just put them in there, see how they perform, and then do kind of a feedback thing afterwards?
Well, a lot of these kids, they relied on a lot by their high school teams. They were some of the best runners in the state of Iowa and the Midwest, and they're the number 1 kids on their team. And so now they come to our team, they're not. And so we just really have them focus on just being with their teammates and having a different role right now for where they're at. And so we really talk to them about sticking with their teammate, running as a pack, those kind of things. And so hopefully just kind of takes the pressure off. We don't put a lot of pressure on them before any meets and that kind of stuff. We just try to make it as simple as possible. The gun goes off, you run your race, you stay where you're supposed to stay, and you go compete. If you can just focus on that, then that kind of shakes out. But it is a lot of fun seeing them compete in the Panther purple and gold for the first time and running at a Big 10 school against some Big 10, Big 12 schools. Iowa State was there. And so it was a lot of fun to see that. But they all handled it really well, and we're really excited for the young kids because I think they're going to make a big impact for us. All right, go Panthers.
Thank you, Dave. Next up, UNI soccer and head coach Bruce Erickson. Panthers are off to a 5-0 start, 5 shutouts, picked up 2 more shutouts this past weekend, and now we'll have 2 more home games this week, Friday against South Dakota State at 7 o'clock and Sunday at noon versus the Montana Grizzlies. Next up, head coach Bruce Erickson.
Well, we had a good weekend. It was good to be back home after being on the road for the first month. 2 really good opponents, a couple of great crowds. Thought our goal was to get better, and I thought we got better. So anytime you can get better and win, that's the double bonus as we build towards the MVC season. But we've got it doesn't get any easier for us. We got South Dakota State coming into town, who won the Summit Leg last year, and then Montana's coming in as a very talented team. So should be another good weekend to see where we're at as a group.
I look at your scores so far. Goose eggs on the opponent's side. Talk about your defense a little bit. How or why has your defense performed so well?
I really think it's the backbone of our team. I think you got including the goalkeeper and with the back 4, you've got 2 juniors and 3 seniors. So I think they've been around the block. There's a lot of experience. I don't think anything really necessarily phases them in terms of opponents. I think Kansas State was a great test just because they bring on another set of players that are as good as what they start with. So, but really they've been tested, and I think the kind of bend don't break philosophy with them has been apparent. I think I like to look at the 2 or 3 minutes before and after a goal is scored, and they've been big. They've come up, following a goal a couple times, and they've been big leading up to scoring a goal. And I think, our attack is feeding off that too. They know, if they can score one or two, we're in good shape to win the game.
I was going to talk to you about the attack because your shot attempts are more than double what you've allowed your opponent. So, talk about your offensive ability to attack the goal.
Right. I think the thing I'm looking at, I guess, with the most optimism is that the fact that we've done enough to win games, we've done enough to score goals, but we've left a few goals on the field every game. So we're creating enough chances to where, I think if we're firing on all cylinders, either game, I think, especially the Friday night game with NDSU, I thought, we had a couple of really golden chances to make that game, 2-0 right away, and we didn't. So it was a little bit more of a struggle, but we're creating a lot, which comes from confidence, and we're fit too. I think the Friday night game took a lot out of us. I was worried for Sunday, just playing a team that had a couple extra days off, didn't have to play on Friday, and we looked the fresher of the two teams, I thought. So I think our fitness overall as a group has really shown up on both sides, both the defensive side and the attacking side with our ability to score goals.
Your average of shots per game versus goals per game, 55%.
Right.
Is that uncharacteristically high?
Not necessarily. Again, I'd like to be a little bit more efficient than we are, I think, a lot of times you look at shots versus quality shots. You really look at the shots on goal, how many really good chances we're getting. And I think what doesn't show up sometimes in shots on goal is, the opportunities. There was a couple crosses, I thought, in the last game that, you're off your seat waiting for the ball to go in the goal, and it goes wide, or goalkeeper makes a great save. So I think our quality of chances has been high, and we need to keep it at that. I think our efficiency will come. I think that's something we've been concentrating a lot in training, just getting them repetition and putting them in situations like they're getting in the games, and hoping that one way or another we'll break through with a few more goals.
When you look back at video of this team playing a year ago and where you're at 5 games into this season, 5-0, where's the drastic improvement to be unbeaten at this point?
I didn't watch a lot of film before I took over, enough to kind of just get more of an awareness of the players and who sort of fit in where. I think if you probably asked them, they'd, I think confidence comes from winning. We had a goal, weeks back where I told them that, I wasn't concerned with the wins. If we're improving every game, the results will come. And they're confident. They're enjoying what they're doing. I think they were confident and enjoyed what they did last year too. But I think the difference is, and I made this comment at a couple halftimes where we were, it was 0-0. They just have to. The goals are the reward sometimes. The wins are the reward for the, for the hard work ethic and training and everything. And so I'm always asking them to seek that reward. Keep plugging away. It'll come. And they, they've hung with it. And we've scored goals at opportune times too. We beat Kansas State and we score with 15 seconds left in the first half. And that's, if you're going to scoring early and scoring late is always good. And I thought that propelled us into the second half and probably gave us our legs a little bit longer to be able to win that game. So,
Are there a couple of key players that are on this team that have helped get you out to a 5-0 start?
There's a bunch, and I think we even look at a couple of the players. It just seems like it's somebody different every weekend. We've talked a little bit about the defenders. I thought, our whole back line, Kelsey Hansen and Morgan Teal and Haley Kearns coming in and getting the goal, and Mari Gagne and Allison Bitter have been. Those guys have been solid. That's as good of a group as I've had. And they're stingy. I think the first couple weeks, Burnell was scoring every game, and has had chances in every game. I thought our midfield was probably, out of all the things I'd take away from the weekend, they were as responsible for us getting 2 wins. I thought they just outworked both opponents we played and won that battle in midfield, and we've got a good group there too. So yeah, there's been quite a few that have stepped up, and it's nice to see somebody different every game.
I think you mentioned, but it looks too like the fan support was good this
Yeah.
weekend.
It really was. We got some students out, and I got to say we've been very, very fortunate with the weather. I think our preseason was about as good a weather as I've had, which makes 2-a-days, as Mark will tell you. Being outside in August, you can get a little bit of everything, and we're really fortunate. And in our game so far, we had great weather on Friday night, and that always helps to be able to play in that, but it also encourages people to come out. So yeah, it's been good. Been very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. One more today. UNI head golf coach John Bermel. Panther men and women were in action at the UNO tournament. Women placed fourth. The men were second, led by medalist Sam DeBartolo. Next up, head coach John Bermel.
Wow, what a start to the season for Sam DeBartolo. The golf course we were playing was a qualifying site for the Web.com tour. They had there 3 weeks ago, and for one kid be the only kid under par at the tournament says quite a bit about Sam. I caught up with him on the last hole of the tournament, and he drove his ball out there on number 9, and they finished on 9 because the boys started on the back 9. And I asked him how he hit his drive, and he said he hit it really good. The kid he was playing with from Creighton was at least 50 yards in front of him, and the kid from North Dakota State was at least 75 yards in front of him. That didn't bother him a bit. He had to be one of the shortest players on the course, and he was the only player to be under par. Just a tremendous effort. 68, 70, 71. Just for the record, he would have made the qualifying to move on in the Web.com. So a great outing for Sam. Some of the other kids that I'd like to mention, that Parker Olson, his first collegiate event, 72 the last round. I think he got caught up in a little bit, finished bogey, double bogey, but 72 is a heck of a round. Marshall Lamb, our junior that we're going to lean on pretty heavy, finished 73, 71 the last 2 rounds. Sam Sokwany, his first event as a sophomore, 69 the last round. This is a pretty big golf course, and Andrew Wood, who played as an individual, shooting 69 in the middle round. So we're getting some guys that shooting under par, and the nice part about these kids is they've got a lot of firepower. They hit the ball so far, and I think that's important. I'm not sure watching Sam the way he handled it, but we'll see as the season goes on. We seem to have quite a few kids that are shooting under par, and that are really getting after this. So I'm really excited on how the boys finished up. On the girls' side, 3 freshmen and 2 seniors on the top 5. I guess we're going to live and die with the freshmen. The nice part is the first 18, we had a freshman that was low for us. The second 18, we had a different freshman that was low for us. And the last 18, we had a different freshman that was low for us. So I'm excited about the freshmen, I'll tell you that. The seniors didn't have their best rounds, but it wasn't terrible. We got a lot to build on, and really excited to see where we're at on the women's side, because the 3 freshmen were low for us. The 2 seniors will be there. They didn't like the golf course last year, and I guess they still don't like it, but we'll get different courses that they will like. So the men head to to Air Force tournament this weekend, and the girls are off until September 25th when we go to Oral Roberts. So, any questions?
What do you look forward to in these next couple of weeks when the women aren't at events, just things that they can do, areas they can improve?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. You know, just at the meet, we saw that we're one of the longest teams there. The three freshmen just bombing. And North Dakota State beat us by, I think, 37 shots. They beat us by 32 shots on the par fives. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. And, you know, the freshmen are learning. The kid that shot Sydney Eaton shot 71 the last round, and she went up to 16, and she hit her drive out there, and there was an outside chance she could get there in two, not a very good chance. She had a 6-iron layup, hit it to 12 feet. You know, she missed the putt, but at least she had a chance for birdie. And just we're learning, you know, in high school, all three of those kids would go for every par five because they were long enough and the par fives were short enough that they could go for them. And they found out that they can't go for all of them in college. There's too many problems up around the greens and in the fairways and stuff like that. So that's really what we're going to work on. We were the best team at the meet on the par fours. That shows me their length was out there, and they had shorter clubs into the greens, and that's why we led in par fours. So yeah, we got some things to work on. So the par five scoring is definitely going to be a focus point. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Coach Berm. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Just a quick note here, a Hall of Fame weekend for the Panthers this week on Friday night. 5 individuals going in the Hall of Fame: Mike Furry, Bree Payton, Jackie Kalin. Ben Booth is accepting the Merlin Taylor Academic Award. Jim Sullivan will receive the Qatari Meritorious Service Award posthumously. And the 77-78 wrestling team will also be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So Friday night in the McLeod Center, 5 to 8. As always, go Panthers.